Hey everybody, this is Dave Tribbett here with another Focus on the Community interview. And today I'm excited to be here with Steve Vincent of AVISTA Utilities. And Steve, it's so great to be able to do an interview with you today. Could you tell us a little bit about your history with AVISTA and the history of AVISTA, if you wouldn't mind?
Oh, well, I think for a lot of us, things can be by accident, not by plan. So I worked as an aide in the Oregon legislature in the early 90s. And at about that time, the natural gas utility in Southern Oregon had been purchased by Washington Water Power, and they had never had anybody in the capital to kind of look out for their interests or the interests of the communities they served. And so they came to me and asked if I'd do that. So I started with what was then WP Natural Gas. A lot of people around Southern Oregon might remember that name, and started with them working in the Capitol building in Salem. So I did that for 6 years and then transitioned into really a broader public affairs role in the communities that we serve in Oregon. I think the most exciting part about what I do is probably the philanthropy, where we give, and the many nonprofit organizations that I get to learn about and meet with and know what it is that they do in our community. So being able to support them, a bit of board work, and then I also get to work with the cities that we serve. And so
Wonderful.
I enjoy that as well. So I would say that my work in the legislature as an aide probably gave me some foundation of what is the Rogue Valley, what is the community, and I had a chance to see it from sort of that side of the desk, which I think was foundational for what I do now.
What are your roots and ties to the community overall? Like, where did that start? Are you native in Oregon, or what does that look like?
So, so my family homesteaded in Sam's Valley in May of 1862,
Oh, wow.
6 generations ago. And
Okay.
I happened to move to the Sam's Valley last September. And every day I pass by the corner of Meadows and Highway 234, the property where my great great grandfather homesteaded that long ago. And I kind of came back to my roots by moving out here. So that's special to me. So now, Dave, just to kind of cover the history of Avista,
Mhm.
maybe I can take this in two parts.
Okay.
One would be a Washington, Idaho side, and then an Oregon side. So Avista was founded in the late 1800s as Washington Water Power. There
Okay.
was actually investors from New York, out of the Thomas Edison group, that were trying to build a utility in Spokane. And we developed a hydropower system, which was one of the first in the country in 1889. It turned on in 1990. And the investors from Edison's group had left and left us to our own devices. And
Wow.
here we are 130 years later, still operating electric utility from eastern Washington and up into the northern panhandle of Idaho. The natural gas side for us came in the 50s when Washington Water Power bought Spokane Gas and then folded the natural gas side into the utility. And so there we are operating there. It's a predominant part of our utility. What's amazing, though, on the renewable side is because we started out as a hydro plant-based
Mm.
utility. Today, we are the fifth lowest carbon footprint, or the fifth greenest utility in the country. I lose
Wow.
track there. We're fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and
That's great.
I should look up my facts, but we're in the top 10
Nice.
greenest utilities. So then on the Oregon side, in Medford, the utility was founded in 1906 in Medford as a manufactured gas utility, and we've operated for over 100 years in downtown Medford. And then today, as a natural gas utility, we're we're spread out from Oakland, Oregon, just north of Roseburg, all the way to Ashland. We serve the Klamath Falls area, Malin and Bonanza. And then our next closest place is actually Union County, all the way over on the east side of the state. We serve LeGrand and the other 7 communities of Union County. And so there's our 100-year history in Southern Oregon. You know, what's amazing, Dave, I think about, you know, the history of manufactured gas utilities across the country is when we all sort of romanticize that image of a gas light somewhere in the middle of the 1800s. It was a manufactured gas, something local. It wasn't being piped from the Yukon or, you know, somewhere thousands of miles away. It was local. And so we were local from 1906 all the way to the early 60s. We were manufacturing a local gas until we were able to bring natural gas down the I-5 corridor from BC in the 60s. And so from the 1960s to today, most of the natural gas that people use in the Rogue Valley to heat their homes and their water, and you know, our captains of industry are producing product, whether it's Harry and David and Amy's Kitchen to the you know, the timber products of the valley are using gas for process heat. On the renewable side, though, we are, as a utility, starting to look at renewable sources of methane. We just had to wait for the legislature to catch up to today's sort of current political environment. And just in this last session, in the 2019 session, the legislature had passed a bill that now actually allows us as a gas utility to start looking for renewable natural gas sources, whether it's local or regional or even West Coast. And so we're working through the rules, and we still have to wait for state agencies to adopt some of those rules that give us the green light to go. But we're finally on top of it, of being able to explore some new opportunities to diversify our supply for natural gas.
What is a manufactured gas? I hear like natural gas and stuff like that, and like what is it, LNG? So what is it? What is a manufactured gas?
Well, so in from probably around the 1860s, I know that it was in the early 1900s here in the Rogue Valley. So there's a coal seam on the east side of Medford. If I were to ask people, did you know we were heating buildings with coal? Nobody has any idea until I ask, have you ever heard of Coal Mine Road? And anybody on North Phoenix Road in East Medford passes Coal Mine Road often, and there's that aha moment. Oh,
Okay.
that's why that road is called Coal Mine Road. And there's an old coal mine up there, but from the late 1890s to about the 1930s, there are a number of companies across the Rogue Valley that were mining coal and bringing it into the urban core at the time for people to actually heat space. And so we as a utility were taking coal and you cook it in a way where you can sort of capture a gas off of the coal and put it in a pipe, and then there it comes. So, you know, if you, again, as I mentioned, you think of a gas light from somewhere in the late 1800s in a, you know, a downtown part of New York, and there's the gas lights. Well, they were probably cooking coal. There are other things that can be cooked. In Klamath Falls, we made butane air, and we piped butane air through pipes in the downtown area. I think in LeGrand, we were butane air there as well. And so that's the manufactured side. You know, you light your butane lighter. Well, put that all in a pipe and inject air into it so it's a gas. And there's the light or the flame for water, process heat for manufacturing, or space heating.
That's fascinating. I know I was looking at, I think it was World War II, they were powering a lot of things off of wood gases.
Yep.
You don't burn it. It's a heating process and stuff. I think a little bit like smoking your salmon and whatnot. There's certain gases and stuff in there. So I'm curious also about, you said alternative gases. I know that in the past, and I know that they're way better than they used to be, but the layering of different types of product or waste in the landfills and stuff would produce different types of gases, but it's usually typically dirty and stuff. But so hypothetically, I've seen people capture some of that, clean it, which is a benefit, because it's not just what is it, methane?
Yep.
It's other
Right.
things too. So it's helping in other ways. So I think that's a good benefit.
Yeah.
So that's what you're referring to potentially.
Yeah, so there's going to be several different sources of what we call
Okay.
renewable natural gas. Landfills is one, and in today's sort of environmental regulatory sort of regime, with policies, landfills can't allow the methane that
Hmm.
comes up through the ground to simply emit into the atmosphere. They have to
Yeah, that'd be
be able to
bad.
capture it, and
Mhm.
then they burn it.
Yeah.
So uh, one of the sources that natural gas utilities are chasing is the landfill methane. The other
Hmm.
would be water treatment plants. So
Oh
right now,
wow.
the Medford water treatment plant, through the sort of that anaerobic process of cleaning the water, the
Yeah.
methane that comes off, they capture it and they actually produce electricity for the plant to
Yeah.
offset their need for
Oh.
electricity for Pacific Power.
Mhm.
So again, it's a gas. If you can light it, contain it, and then use it to generate power in some way
Yeah.
or to generate motion.
Nice.
And water treatment plants, uh, landfills are another source of methane. You mentioned earlier, the manufactured gas using wood,
Hmm.
which
It's
might be
fascinating.
a 100-year-old process, but
Hmm.
there are companies across the world today that that are starting to produce methane from sort of a wood waste process.
Like a
Uh,
digester or something
yeah,
breaks it down.
like a digester.
Hmm.
There's some science there that I don't quite
It's
understand, but
fascinating.
the way that ethanol is made is sometimes it's in it makes me think of a brewery. If
Yeah.
anybody's ever visited an ethanol plant,
Hmm.
it looks like a brewery or a cheese plant with all these
Hmm.
stainless steel vessels that are, breaking down the different components of, the cellulose and some of those things to then make the fuel. And so there are some similar processes to taking wood waste and turning it into methane
Hmm.
that can then be used as an alternative
Hmm.
to the natural gas that we might be, bringing in from the Rockies or Canada.
Hmm.
And so while we talk about renewable natural gas maybe being sourced again from landfill or water treatment plant,
Yeah.
there is yet another piece of sourcing it from the
Yeah.
manufacturer using a product.
So
So,
fascinating.
yeah, so there, the next 10 to 20 years, I think there's going to be a lot of new opportunity for natural gas utilities to diversify the supply and
Yeah.
then give, part of our customer segment that wants a different product,
Options.
give them the opportunity to purchase that. A lot like you see on the electric side.
Yeah.
A lot of
Wind and
customers can
solar, that
opt
kind of thing.
in. Yep,
Hmm.
as an electric customer, you can opt into some of those things along with what is mandated as well.
Great. Now, I know right now, if you were to have a timely message, I know right now a lot of people are struggling and hurting a lot because of COVID. And I
Yeah.
know that in just knowing you and talking to you in the past, I know that there's different things that AVISTA does in the community. What does that look like during this very difficult crisis we're having with COVID? What kind of things is AVISTA doing in the community?
Yeah, so I guess from Avista, what are we doing during COVID? The first, I'll just kind of tackle the regulatory side. In late March, we, along with the other utilities in Oregon that are regulated by the Oregon Public Utility Commission, so here would be Pacific Power and AVISTA, we got an order from the Utility Commission to go ahead and suspend late payment fees, collections, and shutoffs. And so that's in effect right now from late March to, we don't know when that will come back. And, time of this interview at the end of June, who knows? Is it another 30 or 60 days? So that's in place for our customers to know about. The next side, though, is the bill payment assistance that we as a utility fund access. So in the Rogue Valley, it's Access, Klamath, and Roseburg. It's the other CAP agencies that distribute those funds. And Access has been doing a great job of redistributing bill payment assistance funds to those in need. So that's where to go. I know St. Vincent de Paul and United Way have also been doing utility bill payment assistance. So that's where our customers can go. And even if, at some point they can't get that help, or, that it's amazing to see how many people who've never had a problem making a mortgage, making a utility bill, are now faced with, this COVID crisis of not having income. And so, I just encourage people to call us and just say, hey, here's what's going on. And let's apply as much leniency to this as we possibly can. So there's the how to pay. In our sort of our account exec side of the company, those employees of ours who interface with businesses on, how they conserve energy or how do they use their electricity and natural gas, we have developed some tip sheets. One is on building closure. What's the checklist to do if somebody does have a long-term building closure? And there are some other small business tip sheets that we've developed for people to take a look at. And so some of those have been distributed through the chambers of commerce and through economic development agencies for people to see, sort of in that list of resources that are being put out by those, community partners.
Is there something on the website? Is that accessible as well? Like they log in and there's some things they can access through the website?
Yep, and right. Our at the top ribbon of our website, there's an energy savings menu, and those tip sheets can be found. Doesn't require anybody to log in. So while we may be a natural gas utility here in the Rogue Valley, if somebody wants to see our electric energy conservation tip sheet, go take a look at it. It's there, and they're all in PDFs. So if somebody wants to download it and then redistribute it inside their business or their operation or to their friends, certainly available to do that.
Perfect. And I'll put those links below. And for everybody that watches this video, audience of V3Connect, what if there's a nonprofit out there, and I'll include all these links below, of course, what is the website they should go through? Do you guys have a foundation, or what's that site?
So avistafoundation.org. So that's our foundation. The foundation actually covers 5 states. We operate in Washington, Idaho, Oregon. We have facilities in Montana and a utility in Juneau, Alaska as well. Wow. So in March, we distributed a little over $500,000 to nonprofits across the 5 states. In Southern Oregon, here in the Rogue Valley, some of those included the Medford YMCA for their daycare work for COVID-related first responders and people in the healthcare professions. St. Vincent de Paul on rental assistance was another recipient. And then in late May, we stepped up all of our food bank donations across the 5 states that normally come in November and December. And we did those immediately. Here in the Rogue Valley, it'd be the Ashland Emergency Food Bank Access, St. Vincent de Paul are the three main ones here, along with Friends of the Josephine County Food Bank. And then we also did all of our United Way donations early. Most people may remember that United Way is sort of an October, November fundraising timeframe, but we went ahead and did all those now. There are a couple other that I think that listeners or viewers ought to sort of pay attention to. Consumer credit counseling has had some phenomenal success in the last couple of years in expanding their services throughout the whole region, even to Curry County. And so for a second year, we are helping to fund what's called Financially Fit Women. It's a program that they designed that really is a model for all consumer credit counseling services. And so we're supporting that. So just this week, the AVISTA Foundation announced another $350,000 in donations that will be coming out in the next 7 to 10 days. So consumer credit counseling is in that as well. And I would encourage any nonprofit, 501c3 needing funding, to take a look at the AVISTA Foundation website, and that where we're mission aligned to submit an application for funding, and or give me a call. It'd be great to hear what people are doing to serve the community.
Wonderful. Now, if we can segue a bit, I know that not only, and that's a massive amount that you do for nonprofits, but I know that some of what you do is around philanthropy, and I know that you work with a lot of organizations, including SoReady, and they have an initiative there. What does it look like for the initiative that SoReady is doing, and in general philanthropy in our communities where AVISTA serves? What does that look like?
Yeah, so besides the sort of the cash donations that we make to a lot of different organizations, we certainly in all 5 states and here in the Rogue Valley as well, we have employees that dedicate their time to serving on boards or bagging, groceries at a food bank. It really is the gamut of different opportunities where, we really want to support the communities that we serve. And so we put people out there, and our employees do it willingly. They're employees that do things, whether they're coaching Little League. A lot of people know Chris Parnell, who's a local AVISTA employee who's been coaching football for some 30 years. Just an amazing heart that he has. So it's fun to see myself and other AVISTA employees out in the community just doing things, whether they are serving on a board or working on a Saturday morning. So in my role in public affairs, I, in the last 10 years, I suppose, have taken a look at higher education and economic development, and a bit on the Chambers of Commerce side. So right now I'm just finishing a 2-year term as president of the SoReady Board of Directors. And in this time, many people know that we embarked on an initiative. It's being called the One Rogue Valley, which is a long-term community development strategy that involves all kinds of stakeholders to identify what are the initiatives that we as an organization or the other partners should be tackling to really kind of sustain economic growth and vitality for decades to come. And the COVID crisis has all of a sudden kind of made it difficult to convene, but I would say a lot of those initiatives continue to carry on. And I would encourage, if you're able to, an interview with Colleen Padilla, Executive Director of SoReady, to really get into the details of that, because I think there are a lot of partners in across our region who have a role in this. We just need them at the table. And if we're missing somebody, we need to know who that is. So that's what it is. And part of it's entrepreneurship, part of it's the travel and tourism sector. I will say on the entrepreneurship side, it's the small business development centers as the natural partners and others who can really advise entrepreneurs and startups on, how to establish themselves, for long-term success. Just because we all know, small business failure and what that rate is when it occurs in such a short period of time. How do we prevent that from happening and help those, innovators succeed long term? So there's another, I guess you might call it a tranche of the One Rogue Valley initiative that we need to collectively tackle.
So what's SoReady, and what is that component of the One Rogue Valley?
So SoReady has some pieces that no other economic development agency in Oregon has. And first, it is a designated economic development district of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So it's created under that profile. The second thing that SoReady has is a loan program, which was originally funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture with seed money. And it's a loan fund that, if a business can't get traditional financing because of risk, SoReady may be able to lend. And I forget the numbers now. I think we're at about $20 million in loans granted since inception. And then the third piece, actually there's two more pieces, but a third piece, SoReady is the manager of the state enterprise zone program. And an enterprise zone is a property tax abatement if a business makes a capital investment to expand jobs. So, you buy equipment or you build a building. And so those three pieces, all three of them don't exist together in any other economic development agency in Oregon. So I will call that special. The fourth piece, though, is that SoReady did start the Southern Oregon Angel Investment Network, which is 70 different investors investing, I think, close to $3 million across 9 different companies in 10 years. So that one is the other unique part. So there's what SoReady is, 30-year nonprofit working in an economic development space in the traded sector, on behalf of our public agency partners like Jackson and Josephine County and all the municipalities of the region, and then along with what the private sector is supporting SoReady to do. And so CEDS is an acronym for Economic Development Strategy, is a federal requirement that on a cyclical basis, I forget how many years, I think it's every 5 years, every economic development district in the country has to submit their formal strategy and plan to the Department of Commerce in order to sustain its designation and funding from the Department of Commerce. So there's that process. Now, what is the One Rogue Valley? At the encouragement of board members, including Brian Shotun, city manager of Medford, it was asked that SoReady kind of embark on a very regional, cross-regional collaborative process of, again, identifying a number of strategies to move our region forward in economic prosperity, private investment, those things. What is it that we want to be, and what are the things that we need to do to get there? And for a few board members who've been around for a very long time, involved in all kinds of civic activities, several people kind of remarked, well, we don't see that anybody's actually ever embarked on this large of a comprehensive plan. We've seen pieces of it from the late 80s and the 90s, and I have some things on file where a lot of stakeholders came together to try and embark on some particular initiative. But what I think is unique is the number of stakeholders who have become part of this, who now have sort of a piece of it and the autonomy to go chase it, because this is not just SoReady's plan, it's a regional plan. So we've got Travel Southern Oregon and Travel Medford who have their piece, and they're going to go. charge off and do those things that are in there. And travel and tourism is not necessarily within SoReady's wheelhouse. And this is not about making SoReady a larger nonprofit with FTE and funding. It was really to just bring a lot of partners together to collaborate about, well, what can we achieve? And then sort of self-assign, somebody says, okay, I've got this one. I will report back in a year or 5 years on what's been achieved with that initiative. So there's the long story, Dave.
No, I appreciate that very much.
Is.
And as we
so for any viewers who want to know what it is, it's on SoReady's website, and they can go kind of take a look. If they're involved in a makerspace, they can go say, oh, there's my place in this plan. Let me, go work with my partners on that. So it really does run the gamut.
Wonderful. Well, I greatly appreciate your time today for this interview, Steve. And it's amazing how much you are serving the community, how much AVISTA is doing for the community. And I'll make sure that I get all that contact information and the links below for everything. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks today for your time, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.